What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Guys, yes, I am still alive. A little bit of an update you guys haven't seen yet. I did get engaged this last weekend. So between that, new job, new house, a lot's been going on in my world. I know Derek has had a lot going on in his world as well. But wanted to kind of give you guys an update. The media was able to go out to practice OTAs today for the Indianapolis Colts. There was a lot of stuff that was talked about, a lot of things that happened, including an opposite player who switched positions, which we'll get into as well. So just a ton of information. Just wanted to share it with you guys because I know, content right now is very scarce, not a whole lot to talk about. So when we have anything to talk about, especially OTAs at this point, hey, we're going to talk about it. So wanted to kind of give you guys a quick update on some things that did happen regarding the Colts OTAs here on a Friday. So first off, wanted to talk about some players who did not practice, who were watching from the sidelines. Decent amount of players here. First off, punter Rigoberto Sanchez obviously tore his Achilles last year prior to the season. Sanchez did say when talking with the media on Friday that he's continuing to rehab. He said he has done some punting, but he hasn't obviously participated yet in OTAs this spring. He did add that he's very grateful that he tore his kicking leg as opposed to his plant leg. He said that actually, was more valuable to have that leg not be the one that was torn. So he did talk about that. But he also did feel like he's on a good road to recovery, which is obviously big because we know Sanchez is one of the better punters in the league when he is healthy. So we do hope that trajectory does continue for him, for the Indianapolis Colts punter. Some other guys that weren't able to practice today, wide receiver Josh Downs still dealing with that knee injury that he suffered. Wide receiver Michael Pittman, he's dealing with a hip injury right now. Obviously Jonathan Taylor with the ankle. Isaiah Rodgers was not able to practice. Shaquille Leonard still with the back. Rashad Berry still not practicing. Jelani Woods had a hamstring. Drew Ogletree had a knee. And Will Mallory had a foot. So 3 tight ends were not practicing today, which meant Kylan Granson got a ton of looks and has gotten a ton of looks at tight end. Obviously, Juju Brents is not practicing. We didn't anticipate he'd practice during OTAs at all. Darius Rush dealing with a hamstring. Braden Smith did return to practice on Friday, but he wasn't participating in the team, period. So, guys, this is week 2 of 3 in terms of OTAs for the Indianapolis Colts. And let's dive right into kind of what the reporters and people who were down there saw from today's practice. So first off, you got to start with the quarterback. Gardner Minshew got all the starting reps today in OTAs, and Shane Steichen really didn't comment on it. I think it's just, that's just kind of the point they're at right now, where it's like, don't really read into a whole lot right now. I mean, they're so early into, this OTA process and all that stuff. So, but it was Gardner Minshew who got all the starting reps, Anthony Richardson with the 2s. Minshew was 4 of 6 in the 11-on-11 period, including he had a long pass to Ashton Doolin. So that was good to see. He did have enough, there was a couple drops as well. Anthony Richardson was 7 of 9, leading the second unit. He actually drove them in a 2-minute drill into field goal range to end the practice. But it was also, in the 7-on-7 periods, the quarterbacks did struggle a little bit. Minshew struggled and Richardson struggled as well. Had some incompletions where you're like, what was that throw? Some errant throws and stuff like that. But that's kind of how the quarterback situation is right now, guys. And we did find out some more information. I did mention a position change. Julian Blackmon is going to switch from a free safety to strong safety. So he is going to get a lot more looks. Nick Cross is going to be with the second team. So there's the ability there and the opportunity for both Blackmon and also with Rodney Thomas to be able to start alongside each other now. And you do wonder, is that going to be a better role for Blackmon? I mean, is that going to be kind of where, his game is? He did add that he got, some valuable reps last year when Kenny Moore was dealing with an injury and wasn't able to play. He played some nickel, so he does feel like that is going to help him out in that department for the strong safety position. But that was one that was not expected. But we look at it, you say that makes a lot of sense for Julian Blackmon. Just slide over to strong safety. The Colts have 2 good young safeties. And Blackmon obviously needs to have a really good year in a contract year for him. that one we'll see. I think it's going to be good for him to just play a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage, and doing that last year really helped him out. I think that's going to help him out tremendously this year. So we'll look on that as well. I did mention Kylen Granson with all the tight ends being out. Kylen Granson did get a lot more looks at tight end, and he's made the most of his opportunities from what I've seen, what people have said. It looks like Kylen Granson's had some nice moments with the starting unit and stuff. So excited for that, to see Granson continuing to develop as a tight end and as a receiving threat down the field. So that was one thing for sure. He's kind of being the guy right now that's making the most plays in the tight end room. So that was one. And then, just talking about the injuries, the Colts starting offense was this. It was Gardner Minshew, Zach Moss, Kylen Granson, Ashton Doolin, Alec Pierce, Isaiah McKenzie, Bernard Ryman, Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, Blake Freeland, and then defense was Kwity Paye, Samson Ebukam, DeForest Buckner, Grover Stewart, Zaire Franklin, EJ Speed, Darrell Baker, Kenny Moore, Dallas Flowers, Julian Blackman, and Rodney Thomas. So there will be a little bit of a different kind of joint practice for the Indianapolis Colts this year in training camp. They were apparently going to have two different joint sessions here. They're going to have one at Grand Park with the Chicago Bears, and then the next week they're going to have it in Philadelphia with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, we obviously know the connections, Matt Eberflus in Chicago, and obviously, with Sirianni, and then obviously Steichen coming here. There's a lot of connections between these two teams, and they're both playing back-to-back weeks 2 and 3 against each other. First is Chicago, and then 5 days later, Philadelphia. So it's going to be interesting nonetheless. It's just a little bit of a different kind of joint practice for the Indianapolis Colts. So that could potentially mean, and Steichen said this, that could potentially mean that the Colts might have a little bit of an earlier into training camp this year. It might be a little bit earlier. We'll see on that, because that is a Thursday night game. So they could potentially do it. Some people were speculating maybe around August 18th or something like that. So that is definitely something that is interesting for sure. But some joint practices for the Indianapolis Colts against, obviously coaches that they know extremely well and organizations they know very well as well. So just wanted to tell you guys about that one. That is a very interesting kind of twist from what we've seen in terms of joint practices in training camp and stuff like that. But that's kind of some of the big things that we saw, and kind of some of the new things that we learned here in the second week of OTAs. Like I mentioned, this is week 2 of 3 for OTAs. So the Colts will have more OTAs this next week, their final 4. And then the team will have, starting June 13th, they'll have a 3-day mandatory mini camp to conclude their 9-week spring off-season program until they reconvene later this summer. So, guys, that's a little bit of a quick update here from Indianapolis Colts OTAs. Let me know, guys, your thoughts overall on the OTAs for the Indianapolis Colts, and let me know your thoughts on these players, the players who were starting, players who were maybe competing, and what did you like to hear from OTAs? What are the things that you're going to be watching heading into training camp? Let me know those things in the comments below. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for all the support. Hopefully when, the mandatory camp does come out, we'll have a little bit more content to talk about, because the media will actually be there and they'll actually be able to say some stuff. Right now, it's been pretty quiet. The media only gets like one time per week to go out there. So not a whole lot going on. So really looking forward to seeing a little bit more from the mini camp coming up here in a couple weeks. So let me know, guys, your thoughts. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Really appreciate it. And as always, everybody, thank you, and go Colts.